Here we go. Another edition of the Daily Ticket coming to you on this fine Wednesday here in Philadelphia, the city of the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, who took the field this afternoon down at the NovaCare complex. And man, what a sight it is to see Jalen Hurts running out there, already getting me fired up with some of the comments that he said at today's press conference. We'll talk about that. Of course, we're going to hit on the masterful performance by Christopher Sanchez, back-to-back outings by the Phillies pitchers, starting pitchers, with 10-plus strikeouts, and Wheeler and Sanchez were both absolutely sensational. But Sanchez, that crowd, just incredible last night. And oh, by the way, joining us to get the party started here today, Sean Barnard, who was in attendance yesterday. So, Sean, great to have you. How we doing today, sir?
Yeah, doing great, Sean Brace. Feels good. I've been running around crazy, been all over the beaches, over to the Phillies games. So I've had kind of a week to unplug here a little bit. So good to get back on the sticks. And yeah, it was awesome seeing Christopher Sanchez pitch the gem that he did last night.
Yeah, good beach season, right? Good time of year to be on the beach.
Yeah, absolutely there. So checked out LBI, checked out Wildwood, Cape May. Been doing a little tour. So it's been a first week off for me in quite some time.
Yeah. And for those that are keeping score at home, Sean Barnard got engaged over the weekend. How about that? Wow. Congratulations, sir. Man.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, it is kind of crazy there. But yeah, no rings for Jalen Hurts there, but we're cooking in these parts.
That's right. All right. Well, congratulations to you and Maggie. Now, I look, we can't just start and not dive into that because I got to ask this. Mm-hmm. You, first of all, what beach was that?
That was on Cape May.
Ooh, great beach. Why did you choose Cape May?
Her family, her grandma lives down there in Cape May, and she spent a ton of time there. And then she was already down there, so I kind of surprised her down there Friday. So her parents had the assist, sort of leading her to where I was with it, and made it work. So both logistics and kind of meant a little something to her.
All right. So total surprise, you got her. She didn't know.
She was piecing it together as it was unfolding that day for sure. But for the most part, I think with Maggie, as good as I could do with a surprise.
Nice work there. And like the pictures, are you kidding me? You are really making it difficult for anybody of the later generation that wants to go ahead and get the question out. Like I snapped the picture and sent it to my wife, and I was like, this was the ask the question. Like, man, Barnard, what's this wedding going to be? Like, good grief, man. I love it. Nice work by you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It came together well, so I was happy with how it all turned out. It was a lot of juggling, getting all things, everybody on the same page, but pretty happy with how it all came together. So feeling good over here.
Very cool, man. Congratulations. And what were you going to do if it was bad weather?
Honestly, I was going to kind of fly by the seat of my pants there. That was the one thing I was like, I hope it does not run into that. It probably would have been scrambling to some sort of indoor area with the same basic idea with it, but I'm glad we didn't have to go down that path for sure.
Yeah, man. No, you're right about that. It was funny because when I did get engaged, when I popped the question, my idea was like, X, Y, and Z to do it at a certain location. That's fine. But it was December, second week of December. And I said, you know what? Here's the deal. Let me go ahead and put the ring in my jacket pocket, right? And should be no issue. Next thing you know, it was literally 75. It was some crazy temperature change. It was literally like 70 plus degrees in the second week of December. So I'm wearing a coat now. Like this box was this big. Was your ring box big?
So I got hooked up. I thought it was right over here, but they gave me a little like mini box kind of too. That it was basically like wallet size. So the initial box was like that, but they hooked me up to make it easier for that day. Shout out to LL Pavorsky, the guy who's got the job done.
Nice. Well, that's interesting because I didn't go down that path. I just got this huge ass box. I'm like, all right, no big deal. So I throw it in my jacket pocket, and my wife was like, why are you wearing that jacket? It's 75 degrees out. Just enjoy the day. And like literally started almost like looking at me weird. And it's just like, oh my God, get in the car, would you?
They always know. They always know.
Well, she had no clue, but it was just like still something to stir it up about. Anyways, I guess it's a kind of where we're at right now. No, I kid. Now, congratulations, Sean. Nice work. You and Maggie. Looking forward to everything that your future brings. But heck of a weekend for you guys. So great stuff there. All right, quick transition. Citizens Bank Park last night. Great game to be at. Did you go to the game specifically because of the Nelly after show?
We did not actually. That was it ended up working out that way. So and saw a couple of our buddies there. So it worked out like literally in sections right next to us. So we kind of just timing wise picked that. I love watching Christopher Sanchez. That was a little bonus for me. But shout out to Nelly, man. More hits than you'd realize.
Oh, Nelly's definitely got hits, and some of the like his popular songs. If you listen to the actual words, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
It's pretty funny. So he's definitely got some hits, though. Absolutely brought the energy last night, but it starts and ends with Christopher Sanchez, a masterful performance by the starter. And again, this is where we're at. And this is a July 23rd discussion that we've been having on June 23rd, and maybe probably at the end of May as they turned it on, especially after that losing streak in April. This is a team that is good enough to win the World Series, simply based off of that starting rotation, start and end there. Now, the bats are the bats, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more production come postseason than you did last year, because they were able to put it together. Of course, Rhys Hoskins was a big part when they ended up making that run to the World Series, but it's just tough. If you don't come up with the timely hitting, you could lose a game in postseason 1-0, 2-1, 3-2, whatever it is. So, all in all, I do believe in the guys like Bryce Harper, Trey Turner, JT. I still believe in Nick Castellanos. I still believe in Alec Bohm. I think this team is good enough, but that doesn't mean you sit on your hands if you're Dave Dombrowski. You have to be aggressive. Go out there, get a new bat. This is the last time that you can go ahead and make adjustments, make your team better, except for via the AAA or minor league squads. But all in all, you know what you're getting there. Go out there. This team deserves Dombrowski to be aggressive. I know when you get down to the actual critical part of the conversation, it's about, would you trade a guy like Matt Painter? Would you trade one of these top prospects? And, that's not for us to sit here and say. It's real easy for us to say, prospects grow on trees, go out there and be aggressive, understood. But Matt Painter is a guy that they have a lot of capital invested, the injury that he's been through, bringing him back through. So I would be shocked if he was be involved, but I really do believe anybody and everybody could potentially be involved for a big-time move if Dombrowski is going to get good return. We'll see how it plays out, but it's July 31st. I just think this team has what it takes, and it starts with ends with guys like Wheeler and Christopher Sanchez who went back-to-back. Think about that. If that's game 1 and 2 and your starting pitchers go out there and strike out 10-plus batters, you're going up 2-0. You're going to win that series. You're going to take a huge lead in that series if it's a best-of-7. Like, that's the road to success right there. This starting pitching staff is incredible right now, Sean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a case for this being one of the best starting pitching staffs that we've seen in recent memory here, with how good that each of these guys are. And to take it a step further from what you're saying, Sean, is I do think that this is a defining stretch for Dave Dombrowski in particular here, that since he got to Philadelphia, sort of the reputation of Dombrowski is this is an empty the prospects type of general manager. He's going to take the big swings. He's going to make the big moves to set his team up for the best success in the short term here. Truthfully, that has not been how things have played out during his tenure in Philadelphia. That he's dug through the bargain bin a little bit. He's made some of the moves around the edges, but not quite the all-in push that I personally was braced for and sort of expected. It has to be this trade deadline here, that we have a limited time frame here. Zach Wheeler has 2 more years in a Phillies uniform. Kyle Schwarber is going to be a free agent this year. Bryce Harper is not getting any younger. When you have the staff and the baseline that this team gives you here, I don't know what more evidence you need to do than to go all in. That we can't do another season of knowing what the deal is when it's Brandon Marsh and Johan Rojas as your center field options, with Max Kepler, who certainly shows some flashes, and you can squint and see it when he's playing his best. But there's also a lot of stretches where that is not the case with him, and I don't think he's exactly been a guy to run out and grab the chance in the way that you would hope for with that. So I need to see Dombrowski get active here, and this has to be the stretch of I believe in this baseball team, and I'm showing it with my actions here.
I like that. Yeah, Kepler did go yard yesterday. Has his moments where you're like, yeah, okay, there he is. But all in all, throughout the course of this season, has not been the guy that they were hoping they were getting in this offseason. Still, though, will be on the team. And again, if he gets his opportunities and he makes the most of them like he did yesterday with 2 at-bats going yard, you'll take that all day and then some. But again, this thing revolves around Sanchez, Wheeler, all those starters that they get, of course, Ranger, Luzardo, Aaron Nola is making his return. As I said, Painter, I do expect him to hang on to him. I do expect him to actually get some PT. I know that's been the plan all along to bring him up to the majors. Don't know when, but he'll eventually get some starts here. I would assume come end of
I
August,
don't, and I
September.
keep hearing that it's this year. I don't see the pathway to that happening.
It's a
Like,
good point. It's a good point, right? I'm going off of what I've been reading.
sure,
So, like, yeah, I'm with you because you're getting Nola back.
right.
Luzardo, look, he had a little bit of a hiccup there, but he's going to be fine. So where
Ranger.
does he fit? Ranger. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of like the logistics of actually getting him opportunities. And I get Andrew Painter is this terrific prospect that they've bent over backwards and presented as this is our future ace, and they believe in it. And don't want to be skeptical with it. I just have a hard time of fully believing a guy that we've yet to see face major league pitching. And to be honest, has had his ups and downs in the minors, which is expected for a guy who's coming off Tommy John and dealt with surgery like that. But when you look at the numbers and some of the film that you can get out there, it doesn't blow me away. And this is a surefire. This guy's an ace of the future. And this is not to like cast doubt on him, but I think it would be misguided if we're presenting Andrew Painter as like a part of the equation for this season or in the very short term. You got to take the long view with that. And whether that means calling him up this year, I also would push if we're going to have all this bullpen conversation, which is certainly at the forefront of the concerns with this team here. I personally see a lot of upside to if you want to get this guy some playoff seasoning here to give him a chance. Why would you not throw Andrew Painter in a couple of bullpen outings and see how it looks like there? They seem very dead set against that, but that's something that makes a lot of sense in my mind.
Yeah, I don't know how it works when it comes to the injury perspective. Those doctors would have a big say in that, but I'm not opposed to that whatsoever, right? You want your best horses out there. Let's go out there and win. And when that has been a significant issue this season, if you go ahead and get yourself a player like that to come in, eat up some innings, why not? But oh no, we'll see how that one plays out again. I think we've all had that same discussion. More important focus is on July 31st, and it's right around the corner, trade deadline. A lot of teams will be in the mix. A lot of teams are going to be trying to improve their rosters. As I said, a lot to play for. And the American League is up for grabs. The National League, a little top heavy with the Dodgers who have been struggling, but they struggled at times last year. But you know what you're going to get when it comes playoff time with the Dodgers. But I do think that this is going to be a pretty big aggressive window for a lot of teams out there because there's still a lot of teams in the running, of course, with the wild card and in the success of a lot of these teams, specifically what the Tigers did last year when they came on strong at the end of the year, albeit look what they're doing this year. That was no fluke. But if you get in the dance, you got yourself a chance. It is hard to win a World Series. We've seen that.
And for your Tigers example there, I get there's more to them than just this, obviously, but a lot of that is just riding Tariq Skubal there. And a guy, when you have one of the best pitchers in baseball, can take you pretty far. That's the same spot that we're in with this Phillies team right here. Zach Wheeler, unbelievable. And Christopher Sanchez, to like give him his full love here, Christopher Sanchez has been unbelievable for this Phillies baseball team. And he really had his breakout last year where he earned the All-Star honors. We're now at the point where he's consistently put together these types of dominant stretches where he makes quick work. He goes in attack mode. He is pitching in the strike zone and making guys hit. That I believe he had about 75% strike rate yesterday. It's just going out and attacking hitters like that. That's really impressive stuff. It is time to start talking about Christopher Sanchez like he's one of the best pitchers in baseball because he's exactly that he's now done it for a consecutive stretch of time for a long enough length that it's time to acknowledge that this guy has fully put it together. There's also like some of the emotion that he shows on the mound, which is pretty new. In general, he's been pretty like stoic as a pitcher when he is like that. He's now letting it loose, pumping the chest, getting excited. And I love everything about it. That there's a chip on the shoulder that Christopher Sanchez is carrying with him this year that I don't remember seeing from him in the past. I think we should recognize it. This dude is a stud. He's one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's about time he starts getting his flowers like that.
A lot of people were fired up when he didn't get the All-Star nod.
Yeah.
A lot of people nationally were fired up, and he was the number one name that people kept on throwing out there. It was him and Ranger, of course, but I thought I heard a lot more about Sanchez because people have been taking notice. He's been awesome. Last night, Sean, that performance was incredible, and he was just so in the zone and just throwing balls that these hitters had no shot of hitting. And it was really fun to watch on the television. I can only imagine what it was like inside the ballpark because it was pretty damn electric coming off the screen. Just to put that into perspective, last year, Sanchez finished the year with a 3.32 ERA, 31 starts, had 153 strikeouts in 31 starts. Last night was Christopher's 20th. He now has 134. So 11 starts. He had 19 more strikeouts than what he has right now. So that gives you a little perspective. Again, he's got a 2.40 ERA. He is clearly one of the best pitchers in baseball and a guy that can go ahead and win you a ball game when it comes to playoff time. So that's what really excites me. And it hit me again. Like I said last night, if you get that type of performance, which there's no reason why we should not expect that come October. Like, we've seen it before. Don't get me wrong with the four aces, and no need to go down that path when St. Louis beat the Phillies. And, of course, Cliff Lee came up small. But even then, I think they only scored 4 runs in that game, if I'm not mistaken. So you just got to get the bats going. We know what needs to be done. Go out there, be aggressive, get some new blood. I think it breathes new life. There's more than just getting somebody to the plate. There's more than just getting a new name on the roster. I think it, raises the attention, and you just think about the mundane stuff that they go through day in, day out, 162 games. And then okay, here's the trade deadline, something in the middle of summer. Oh, my team just went out and got this player and this player. Okay, it's game on. I think it raises things a little bit. And you know what? It definitely provides a little bit of a spark for this fan base, which I don't think we really need all that much right now.
Yeah, spark, I think, is the right word there. Because I think if there is a fair critique of this Phillies team, it is a little bit of, there is a sense of sometimes they go through the motions a little bit, or it is they're in sort of, the same repetition. I think adding an impact name or a guy that just changes the makeup of the team to an extent would be a spark that would be welcomed and encouraged. That I think that this team has gotten a bit comfortable for stretches here. And I felt that less so lately than I have in some of the early parts of the season for sure. But I think from a team-wide perspective, everyone would benefit by a bit of a shakeup, a bit of a we mean business. We're going to win this right now. And I think while there is obviously some positives to continuity and keeping a group together there, I think we know the core, and adding on to that is important. I think everyone will benefit from a little bit of fresh blood.
All right. Sean Barnard hanging with me here. It's the Daily Ticket. Couple comments coming in. We're going to get into one in just a second, but shout out cousin Nikki checking in. Are we never going to see Aiden Miller? I know you're doing it all these days. What are you doing Phillies content for?
Phillies Digest. So YouTube channel, cranking out some stuff there. We got a ton cooking for the deadline. And I will note for the Aiden Miller conversation here, seems like a solid player, like a guy that I like. I've been impressed with from what I've checked out of him. He's another guy that realistically, what's the pathway to him having an opportunity? And Bryson Stott has had an ugly season, and that starts to make it a bit more relevant. But if you're having the conversations, Trey Turner is here for the long haul here. Third base, we'll see what the deal is if you want to slot Miller over there. But if we're talking about winning right now this season, that's a guy I'm totally open to throwing on the market. Just from I don't see the clear pathway to he's for sure a long-term part of this Phillies team. If you can get a guy that you believe increases your chances of winning right now, you do it. And I do think Aiden Miller is a guy who, to me, falls in the second half of that list of I would be willing to part with in a trade at the right price.
All right. As I said, we got some comments over here. We're going to mix it up. This is going to be a little bit of the sports carousel, as Mark Henry Jr. likes to call it. Only Sean Barnard and myself. We're going to hit on a little of everything, including Kyle Filipowski with the Summer League MVP. I don't know if you have an opinion on that, but we'll talk some Summer League, put a bow on that bad boy. And then, of course, some moves in the NBA as well that I want to get your discussion on, get your thoughts on with the discussion. But I do want to bring up the fact that, it's been another bad week for me, and it's unfortunate, but I don't know what happened, but I have learned a lot about poison ivy, poison. I like all of this. And again, everybody's body reacts differently is what I'm really catching. I did not know that I was allergic to poison ivy. I don't know if everybody is. I don't know how it works.
I think so. But I think that's its thing.
Well, it affects everybody differently. I guess I could say that. So there are people let's just put it this way. If we went out and worked in my backyard, boom, we ripped a tree out, bushes out, and we all did the same thing. Same amount of work with poison ivy. I think there are people out there that can go out, rip all that out, have it touch them, and it won't affect them versus somebody that, look, all it does is take a little bit of that oil, and next thing you know, it flares up. I don't know. I could be wrong on it. I have worked in the yard. I have a green thumb. I love plants. I love all that. Never had any issue with poison ivy in my life until last week, still today.
That's tough.
Yeah, full disclosure, everything was good. Everything was moving in the right direction. Didn't go to the doctor. Just did a bunch of over the counter from CVS. And like over the weekend, it was fine. Saturday, I got out of the house, DJ'd. I did a charity event over at Vision Fitness. It was awesome for the Magical Mila Foundation. Shout out to everybody involved there. Raised a lot of money for the Magical Mila Foundation. Jess and Dan, love them like a brother and sister, but always there for them. So we're able to do that with Vision Fitness. Very cool time on Saturday. Sunday, wake up. Everything's good, like slowly going away. Still got some marks, but not to get into too much of the details, but not just keep it moving. Monday, I get invited to play on this awesome tournament, this awesome invitational. There was a couple of local guys that I joined up with. Dan Hirschberg, who's the Amateur Golf Society tour, the AGS tour he created, him and his partner Sam. Well, Dan and I have a great relationship. We met up last Wednesday at Chill Moody's event, all revolving around the great game of golf. So Dan hits me up, says, "Are you available to play?" And, look, man, private golf course, teaming up with some of the guys that he was saying that was going to play in it. I'm like, let's go, man. It was, without butchering it, there was a lot of local PGA players, from each club, the head pros. They were able to get into a foursome and play. We were teamed up with John Cooper, who was the head pro of Green Valley. Didn't know John, but I know Green Valley really well. And that's where my guy, Eric Mahoney, is giving me some lessons. Awesome dude, and helping my game out a lot. So Monday we go out and play this private club all the way up in Chad's for a little bit of a hike, but all good. Again, beautiful day. Get out there. And I'll put what took place that day to the side for a second. But I think being out in the golf course in the sun, couple bottles of suds might not have been the best idea for healing, because all it did was just raise it up, fire things up even more. Yeah. So let's put it this way. I just saw the doctor today, had to get the meds, and we'll be out of studio all week. Let's just put it that way. So we recorded from home, but I want to give a shout out to John Cooper and our crew, because we won on Monday. We took home first place. I have never won anything when it comes to the great game of golf, when it comes to scrambles or anything along those lines. I think maybe the golf trip in Myrtle Beach won the close to Penn a couple times, but nothing crazy as far as the winning team. I always feel like I come up short. Dude, we were firing on all cylinders. Everybody was doing their thing, but there's no doubt in my mind, Coop was the man. And he's checking in right now. Great putter. Yeah. Yo, I had it rolling. I had the flat stick rolling, Sean Barnard. We played a shamble. It was my first time playing a shamble. And the difference is with that, all it is look, the first drive, you take the best drive, then everybody plays their ball from that point on, and you take the lowest score. Loved it. It was great. This way you play a little bit more golf than getting up there and everybody hits the same shot with scrambles. Loved it. Great day in the golf course. They rolled out the red carpet, the folks from the PGA. Saw the Wanamaker Trophy. They had that out there on a tee box. I mean, it was really cool. Like, you see the names. Scotty Scheffler just won it this year. Tiger a few times. Lee Trevino, Jack. Like, it was cool to see all those names on the Wanamaker Trophy. And then again, bringing it back to the weather. What a day. But we had ourselves a good day. Sam, myself, Dan, and Coop. It was a great foursome, blast, and want to definitely run it back next year, as they say, defend the belt. But pretty cool, man. Really cool stuff there. And you know what the best part about it is? No one gave us a second thought of cheating. That's how much the reputation that Mr. Cooper brings to the table, because I was like, yo, he was on the team. Trust me. Like, we're not cheating. And we threw up an absurd number, Sean. Like, the numbers just we shot 18 under.
I did see the post there. It's impressive.
18 under. I hit like 3 putts that I popped on those holes, meaning I was getting a stroke, and like the putts I was making were just absurd. On the first hole, we step out there and I made like a 12-footer. This thing just broke sideways and dropped in, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be a day. And it was, man. It was so cool. Great to be out there, but not so sure that my body needed to get into sunlight for 6 hours or whatever it was we were out there. But all in all, just what are you gonna do? I would do it again if I had to, but Still dealing with the poison ivy, damn it. Brutal.
Yeah, playing through adversity. So much respect to that. But yeah, the trophies are worth putting up for the scars that it takes to build them up, Sean Bray. So
That's
love to
right.
hear that.
You
I'll
know,
be getting out there myself tomorrow before I'm fully back in action in the work world there. But is it the ankles? Is that the hot spot for the poison ivy? That's what's going on?
yeah, a little bit of the the what's that bone right up front called yeah, right up front.
Shin?
Yeah, the shin, thank you.
Okay.
The shin, it's just the ankles, and it just like the weird part about it is they say it's not contagious, but yeah, like I'm popping up. I had one underneath my arm, I had one on my cheek.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, like that's the issue. I'm like, all right, dude, enough of this. Like, what is going on right now? Like, come on, we're dealing with this for a week. I should have went right to the doctor. If this is a lesson for anybody, don't skip the, don't go to urgent care, don't go to CVS, just go right to the doctor. If I would have done that, I would have been fine Friday, Saturday, Sunday, ready to go this week. Instead, here we are. What are you gonna do? Enough crying about it. We'll keep it moving.
You survived. Hopefully the worst day is behind it for it.
Yeah. I need to play some more golf though. Looking forward to doing that a little bit more. Let's keep it moving here. We do have the Eagles back out. Well, first of all, real quick, just to put a bow on the Phillies conversation, back at it this evening, taking on the Red Sox. Lucas Giolito on the mound for the Sox. Jesus Luzardo for the Phillies, minus 144. 8.5 is our total in that one. I saw Castellanos out there, vibing and Nelly. I think I'm going to ride with the Casty train tonight. Your thoughts? Where are you looking this evening?
I was looking Cassie last night and riding the Ozzy Osbourne reputation there, but did not come through for me. Max Kepler, I kind of like a little bit of a Max Kepler hot streak coming on here. I'm not sure if I'm going full out with it, but I do think that's a guy to keep an eye on. If anything, like he has to prove it. He has to be feeling a bit of the pressure for how this season has gone, the expectations at the trade deadline. And I also like Luzardo for a bounce back performance tonight. I'm a big fan of the Luzardo strikeout prop tonight. I think that the All-Star break was good for him to have a little bit of time off, get his head away. But this dude was straight up nails, straight up dominant at the start of the season. And I think he's going to inch back towards looking like that. So I like a strong game from Luzardo. The strikeout props would be my favorite there.
Yeah, you pointed out, the last game out for Luzardo wasn't his best. 4 2/3 against the Angels. Ended up striking out 7 in that game, but gave up 4 earned runs. The previous game to that was himself against the Giants when they won 13-0 with 7 innings. They're only giving up 3 hits. So a little bit more of that would be better off if they can get from Luzardo. Again, 7 is a strikeout. What was the number? 7 at minus 125. That's pretty much his average this season. So we'll see. I don't have an issue with that whatsoever. But the batter props, I'm going to ride with Castellanos this one. I'm going to go with Casty, maybe a little Trey Turner, look his way as well. But hopefully the Phillies can get another victory and keep it going here, man, because they've looked good against the Red Sox so far. All right, let's keep it moving over to the NFL real quick. The Eagles did take the field. Not much to add other than the fact that, man, as a fan, it's pretty damn cool to see these teams back on the training camp fields. And, like, I'll give you, for instance, Jackson Dart is throwing touchdown passes up there with the Giants, like at practice. Like, this is a full-fledged offense, helmets, shoulder pads. Like, oh, okay, it's football season. It's here.
Yeah.
Right. And I did see a little bit from the Eagles training camp, but that was the one highlight. I caught a quick one on television. I'm like, damn, we're already throwing the ball. We got 11 on 11. We're scrimmaging out there. Like, this is pretty cool, man. So football season's here. We are a week away from our first preseason game in July. Eagles' first preseason game is August 7th against Cincinnati Bengals. So everything is coming together. Of course, college football has been front and center for us here on The Gambler, but really getting it going right now. Just getting the visual of these guys on the training camp field. Exciting times.
Yeah, 100% there. And football is king. That's like what sets off the entire sports calendar and gets us going. So we sort of are living through that a bit of a lull right now with everything that's going on. Still been plenty to keep up on and be excited about. But I do think that this is fully we're back in the real world. Sports is fully right front and center, and football does it better than anyone with that. So it's been cool to see some of the quotes coming out, seeing some of the contract situations make their waves around, which is certainly enjoying following those storylines, especially down in Dallas with the Michael Parsons situation, everything going on down there. So yeah, we are fully back in it, and the action is not too far to follow. So exciting, the football finally here.
Jalen Hurts, we'll talk a little bit about that situation going on in Dallas. Had that written down as well. And because, of course, it's getting a lot of attention, it's the Dallas Cowboys. And, oh, by the way, living up to their reputation, not handling the contract situations for their best players right. Week or year in, year out, you can always count on the Dallas Cowboys doing what is not right in favor of the players. Very weird. But Jalen Hurts, I love the fact that he spoke today, and they asked him why he wasn't wearing his Super Bowl ring at the party on Tuesday night, I believe, this past week, whenever it was, or last week when they get the rings, of course, with the wings. Unbelievable. Jalen, quote, "I've moved on to the new year. It's as simple as that." And it's exactly what I expected from a guy like Jalen Hurts and what he brings to the table. I love that mentality. And that's the type of thing that's going to send a message in the locker room. That's the leader. There's no questions, no ifs, ands, buts about it. And Sean, I feel about as good as I did last year. Right now, heading into a season as I did last year, the year before, sky's the limit. I do think this team is good enough. I think Jalen Hurts is simply good enough at the quarterback position to win another Super Bowl. And, oh, by the way, win the MVP yet again, which you can find on DraftKings Sportsbook 60-1 plus 6,000. If you don't have that play as an Eagles fan, I don't understand it, right? Like, if they do get back to another Super Bowl, which, you know what, they're going to be up
On the
there.
table.
Yeah. Yep. You're going to, you know what those odds are going to be for him to be the MVP. You can get that play right now, 60-1 plus 6,000 on DraftKings. Got to have that play as an Eagles fan.
Yeah, and as far as Jalen Hurts as a whole here, he's a level of psycho that you just cannot teach, man. It is cut from the Michael Jordan, the Kobe Bryant type mold of the way that he is ready for success here, ready to do whatever it takes to achieve the success that he desires here. I do think that's infectious from a locker room standpoint. That's exactly what you should hope for in your leader here. And you can throw out whatever quarterback rankings you want or say whatever. He's the reigning Super Bowl MVP. And I challenge you to find a quarterback with remotely the resume of his at age 26 here. When you think about all that he's accomplished thus far, without it really seeming to weigh on him whatsoever, without this being him reaching any sort of end goal, I think is really admirable and something that sets the tone for this entire franchise. So Jalen Hurts, you can critique some of his passing skills or whatever you want to look at it. He's the right guy to be leading this Eagles franchise. And I do think that this is only the start for the success that this organization can have.
Nakobe Dean on the PUP list, which I don't think was all that much of a surprise. Also, Jordan Davis looked really slim, man. I love it. He looks like he's ready to go and will be that difference maker. That the expectations, of course, what you spent to get him in the draft and where you selected him, I think he's going to have himself a hell of a year on the defensive line. And they need it. They need it with everything that they lost this past year in the offseason. You got to have your guys step up that are currently in the nest, if I may. But it's exciting. And again, not much to add. It's great to see them back out there. Long way to go until we're playing games that actually matter against the Cowboys. Nice one to kick, or a nice little segue there. First week of September. Anything else as far as the Eagles concerned?
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I think it is all good vibes and everybody on the same page, which is how it should be at this point in the year. I don't think this is anything of this team resting on its laurels. I think there's a bit more of a chip on the shoulder than we sometimes see from a team that is coming off a Super Bowl victory here. And that starts with Jalen once again. So I think this team is locked in. I think we're going to be pretty happy with how competitive and how great this football team continues to be. For the time being, I'm not going to be sweating anything too serious right here at the end of July before we're that close to games taking off.
All right, over to the Cowboys, as you said, the Micah Parsons deal, and of course, he is not one to shy from a microphone. They used to make a joke about me when we would go to a wedding. They'd be like, "Brace, don't go near the microphone." And then, my friends I'm talking about, and like I used to always say, like, I'm starting to scratch anytime I'd walk by a microphone. Like I got to say something. That's Micah Parsons these days. Micah Parsons has to be front and center, wants the attention. I will say he backs it up on the playing field. He's a hell of a player. I just have no idea why the Cowboys make life difficult. Unless these players are going in and asking for the moon and then some because it's the Cowboys and like, hey, I know what you make. Then I can understand somewhat. But like CeeDee Lamb, Dak Prescott, Zeke, and put Zeke to the side. Like, CeeDee Lamb's one of the best players in the game at the wide receiver position. Dak is your best option at the quarterback spot. Like, you're going to give these guys contracts. Like, you can't have it play out continuously the way it does year in, year out. And then here we are again with Micah Parsons. And, oh, by the way, They fined Von Diggs $500,000 for rehabbing an injury away from the team facility. Now, I think it's his own damn fault. And these are the type of players you tie yourself to when you give them the big time contracts. Like, if that's important and you need that team leadership, and he's got to be the right, to lead the right way and rehab your injury at the practice facility, then that sucks. But to fine him $500,000 and now he's voicing his displeasure to the media, it's just not a good look for a team that can't deal with these distractions. It is a big deal down in Dallas, maybe more so than if it did happen in Jacksonville or Green Bay. Like, these things are magnifying to the nth degree. Get it right from a PR standpoint, and they can't. They continue to step on the rake every single summer.
But you know exactly the why to these questions, Sean Brace. And the answer is Jerry Jones. It's Jerry Jones can't get out of his own way. Even like some of the press conference stuff of coming out is just insanity. Like things that we can clearly fact check. Like you talked about making Dak Prescott the highest paid quarterback in football, which just is not quite the case there. And then talked about how he's paying these guys and they're not on the field all the time, and basically taking shots at some of the players that he's in these hostile negotiations with. I saw a great take, and it came from ESPN First Take here. I forget the guy's name, unfortunately, but he talked about if the football gods were to come down and say, Jerry Jones, you can have the next 3 Super Bowls, but you can't step in front of a microphone. You can't hold a press conference. Do you take that deal? And Jerry Jones would say no. And I do think that there is truth to that right there, that it does feel that this guy wants to make it, this is my show to run, and I'm going to do it exactly how I plan on there. And we sort of see the fallout for this. Now, I don't think guys like Michael Parsons quite do themselves any favors. That you're absolutely right, that he does take care of business on the field. To me, that should be the end of the conversation. And I was complaining about this with Kyrie Irving in the basketball world here. This is another guy who just lets the mic get put in his face a bit too much. That I don't think that helps anything as far as trying to resolve this situation. But nonetheless, from the Eagles' perspective, I'm enjoying every single second of this. Yeah. I love that this continues to go down and think that this is something that eventually needs to be addressed. But I don't think it happens until the Jerry Jones era is officially over.
Yeah, that's fair. You're right. I mean, like, I needed to make that case too, and that's probably where they're butting heads a little bit more than most. It's like, yeah, Jerry loves the microphone as well. He's the only general manager / owner that takes the microphone following a game, right? Like, he's the first guy that is on the mic following all Cowboys games, and that's what he wants to do, and that's his right. He runs a team, but it hasn't been successful. Hasn't got over the hump. They've had some good seasons. They've won a few divisions. Jerry's got a great product down there, but all in all, if you're trying to win a Super Bowl, I have to be with you on that one. Maybe he needs to take a step back, which will never happen until he's 6 feet deep. So without getting too deep into that one, I think we can all agree on that. All right, let's keep it moving. I want to get your take on this one because we are rolling along here. Daily Ticket, Sean Brace, Sean Barnard. Summer League wrapped up. Kyle Filipowski, 29.3 points per game, 7.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists. He earned the Summer League MVP honors. Your thoughts on Mr. Filipowski? You surprised?
Yeah, he was very impressive. I'm not surprised. He wouldn't have been a guy that I picked going into Summer League. I will say once the announcement was made, it was not one that shocked me. That I do think that he earned that type of title there. I do think Filipowski is a guy that fell through the shuffle a bit with how talented that he is. That he was really impressive during his time at Duke there. He went back for the second season, didn't really quite boost his draft stock in the way, and then slipped to the second round with some weirdness that leaked out during the pre-draft process there. And then had a very good rookie season with the Jazz, is building off that. So that's a guy that I think, as the Utah Jazz are a team that has quietly collected like a really impressive youthful core, he's a guy that's pretty near the top. When the cream does rise and see who these guys are foundational pieces, I also think it is relevant from the Lauri Markkanen standpoint, as that's a guy who's been in trade rumors for quite some time. If Filipowski's ready to step into that role, they can fetch a pretty penny for Lauri Markkanen from a trade perspective. I do think that it pushes the Jazz closer to that, but he earned the title, and this is plenty to build off heading into year 2.
Yeah, Utah's got a couple things going for him right now, and I think a lot has to do with Bailey and whether or not he buys in and he plays. What is your thoughts on Ace Bailey after seeing him just a limited role out there, but still happy on the bench, bouncing around, haven't really paid attention if he's saying anything? Are we believing that he's going to remain in Utah at least for this season? Give it a go?
I would hope common sense has kicked in enough to this point with Ace Bailey that like you're in the spot here. If you want to, and this is how he should have operated all along, is you can still pick what team you want to play for in the future here. You will eventually be a free agent if you desire to be. You can request a trade if you truly desire to. The short term, the best case scenario for everyone involved here is for him to just ball out in Utah. I mean, I think he's said things pretty much the right thing since at least the dust has settled with this. On court, it's pretty much been as expected from me that there's been some growing pains, some low moments where you can see his shot selection, his lack of playmaking being a little bit of a concern there. But he had some really positive flashes too. And I do think Utah, for all this, the situation that he wanted, where he wanted a ton of shots and wanted to be the guy, you pretty much have that in Utah here. So it's time to settle in and embrace that. And also throw out Walter Clayton Jr. was incredibly impressive to me out there in Utah as well. That he looked terrific. So they got a little something brewing over there.
It's my guy, man. He's my guy. That's my guy.
He hopped. And it was interesting. Isaiah Collier, who's a guy that I like quite a bit, USC product, who had a really good rookie season, still struggles as a shooter, but the playmaking chops are pretty off the charts there. As a guy who earned a little bit in his rookie season, I thought it was pretty clear that Walter Clayton looked better than Isaiah Collier in Summer League there. And that kind of should be the case. Like, as much as Collier has a year of NBA experience, he was a one-and-done guy at USC compared to Clayton, who is a 4-year college guy, who was a higher draft pick than Collier there. So I think Collier saw himself hopped a little bit in the depth chart, and that ultimately that Walter Clayton may be the point guard of the future out there in Utah.
Give me 30 seconds of Con Knipple. Your thoughts?
He's awesome, man. He's better than a lot of people want him to say. I like Con a lot. I guess I'll put it this way. I don't think that there's any way that his style of play equates to winning basketball for the foreseeable future. There's going to be limitations. There's things that there are flaws, but this dude is a whole lot better than a lot of people made him sound in the pre-draft process.
All right, excellent. Staying in the world of basketball, as far as Sixers are concerned, Jared McCain. I didn't know he's a jump man guy. Did you know that?
I did know that. His sponsorship / whatever phrasing you want to work, business partners, whatever, it is deep. He's got a deep bag of all those things.
Yeah, he's Mr. TikTok.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that played it. I'm sure that played into a little bit. No, by the way, he had a pretty damn good rookie season until he got hurt. Of course, there's a new commercial out. I think it's terrible, though. I think that commercial is brutal. How could you screw up a Jumpman commercial with all that talent? Yeah. Hard Knock Life. I think that's been done before. Like, unless I'm missing something, I didn't think it was the best commercial. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I did see the commercial. I mean, it didn't stand out to me as like, this is the coolest thing I've ever. Yeah. This wasn't an old Gatorade commercial in the way that used to fire me up like that, but I thought it was fine. I think it's cool that Jared McCain's starting to get a little shine, and I think a lot of people are still unaware of how talented that this young man is at basketball.
Yeah. So from the Sixers over to the NBA, we do have some reunions that took place over the last few days. Dame going back to Portland. Love it. Love that idea, just from the standpoint of Dame returning. There are some other things that are behind the scenes as far as his family's divorced. They live out in Portland, but bottom line is you can rehab there, going home, finish your career there. I love it from Portland's perspective.
Yeah, 100% there. And I like what they're building as far as a young core as well. That I think obviously he's going to be out for the entirety of this season, rehabbing that Achilles tear. I do think family was the driving point for where he came to this decision. That Dame, to his credit a little bit, was more open than we genuinely see athletes as far as how hard it was living across the country and some of the struggles from the relationship aspect, with obviously him going through a divorce there and being away from his family. And I think it was really important to him to get back to the West Coast and be out there. And then Portland, a place where he has already become a hero from a franchise perspective, where he's been likely their best player of all time. I guess you can give LaMarcus Aldridge a little bit love as well, but I do think Damian Lillard has taken that throne there. You got a chance to sit on the sideline for a year, collect $70 million combined between the stretch contract in Milwaukee and what he'll be paid in Portland, and then come back next year where you get a real chance to see what does Scoot Henderson look like? How many strides forward does this team? And frankly, just eyeballing it right now, I think their biggest need is going to be shooting, which is something that Damian Lillard is still going to be able to provide. So I think there's a chance that this reunion could work out a bit better than we're even talking for like a surface level here.
Okay. What about the reunion between Chris Paul and the Clippers?
Clippers are interesting, man. I mean, they're going to be so old that the clear mentality.
That doesn't work well, man. That does not work out most of the time.
It doesn't. It does seem like all these guys are aware and conscious of this. That the interesting storyline, I guess, worth noting with the Clippers is they're unwilling to take on any sort of contracts that expand beyond the next 2 years. They want to be a cap space team where there's a pretty intriguing class of free agents coming up 2 years from now in that summer, and the Clippers want to be big buyers in this. That it is they are tying the contracts from Kawhi to James Harden to Chris Paul and Bradley Beal all being a part of this here. There's a lot of talent that if you just look at the box score, I still have my doubts about how much noise they can actually make in the Western Conference, that the Oklahoma City Thunder are legitimate. That is the standard moving forward. I think the Houston Rockets are a team that when you talk about youth and athleticism and things that will give the Clippers problem, I think they check that box. The Spurs are a team that I still don't think people are giving enough credit for how legitimate they're going to be. But the Clippers are going to be a good basketball team, man. They're going to be a playoff team. They're going to be in the mix. And that's all you can kind of ask for when it is as competitive as it is in the West, is this team has a chance. And we'll see how it ultimately develops. I do think like each of these names I've brought up here are on the decline stage of their career for sure. I don't think any of these are the ageless wonders, the LeBron James type that are still performing at a high level. We've seen James Harden take step backs. We've certainly seen Chris Paul, although we did play all 82 games last year, but we've seen some regression in him. Brook Lopez did not move like the same guy last year whatsoever. So there's definitely some concern with this Clippers team that I have, but I give him credit for trying.
Yeah, look, and James Harden took a little bit of a cut. You know, he's made a lot of money.
$40 million pay cut, right?
To bring in, you know, like you said, some of those players, and I think he deserves a little tip of the cap. James Harden has played well out there, and of course, if he's doing stuff like that, shout out to James Harden. He definitely doesn't get that. People don't think about him when it comes to reputation, so that's something that needs a little bit more of a bump. I'm sure at the end of all of it, you know, it's going to make it up some way somehow, but to put that out there, I think that's important for people to know. Clippers, we'll see. Basketball season, long ways to go, but it'll be here before we know it. Just want to put out there a lot of college football conversation coming your way. A little bit later, I'll be going live with Joe Tandy, Mark Henry Jr., and Ryan Beef Coyle. Summer classes in session, all things college football later tonight at 9 p.m. We got beef up front going on. We got a lot to get to this week, and I'll be back in studio next week for a jam-packed August. Heading out to Chicago for the National. We'll be live on Friday the 1st, August 1st, I want to say it is. Yep. So looking forward to that, but a lot happening with the Gamblers. We are inching closer towards that kickoff against the Cowboys. For Sean Barnard, nice work, sir. I am Sean Brace. Everybody keep it locked right here to the Gambler. I'll talk to you.